Hoy voy a explicar cómo se forma el presente perfecto del subjuntivo. Y para saber cómo se forma, la mejor cosa a hacer es repasar. So let's review. How do we form the present perfect indicative? Because it's really similar to how we form the present perfect subjunctive. So you should remember that the present perfect is formed when you're describing something you have done. So what have you done? What have you not done? That sort of idea. This tense is formed by the following steps. First of all, conjugate your verb haber. We're going to conjugate haber in the present tense because it is the present perfect. However, we're going to also put the second verb in the past participle. So this tense, present perfect, actually tells you something that you've done in the past. It just uses the present tense to do it. So the verb haber is in the present tense, and your second verb, which is not conjugated, is still sort of changed, and we put it in the past participle. So present, past. Remember, we're going to put these past participles on the ends, and they have two different endings for regular verbs. So these endings would be ado for an AR verb like bailado, and ido for ER and IR verbs like comido and vivido. So we're going to try some examples. Try and translate the following. Remember, do not conjugate the second verb. It gets put into the present or the past participle ending, but it's not really a conjugation because that's the only form it can ever be in. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to say respuesta. And when I say respuesta, I'm going to show the answer. So if you haven't finished it at that point, you should pause it. I would suggest actually just pausing before I even move forward on any of these because I'm going to go kind of quickly. So the first one, I have eaten tacos. Pause now to write that down. Unpause when you're ready. La respuesta. Yo he comido los tacos. The second one, we have played soccer. Pause here if you're going to need some time, because la respuesta es nosotros hemos jugado al fútbol. And he has danced with the girl. La respuesta es él ha bailado con la chica. And that's how we form the present perfect tense. Take this chance to try and write some of your own examples. You can take these examples and show them to a teacher to make sure that they've gone well. The last page shows that we have irregulars. Just like any tense, this also has irregulars. And this is in song format. I sadly don't know the tune to the song. I don't know if I'm not sure what it is. But if you know the song, or you could ask your teacher, feel free to sing it. Maybe they'll even sing it with you. But these are many of the irregulars. So now that we've reviewed the present perfect indicative, it's probably a good idea to talk about the present perfect subjunctive y cómo se forma este tiempo de los verbos. So present perfect subjunctive is essentially the same thing with one major difference. The major difference is that we use the subjunctive in the sentence. Everything else is still formed in the same order with the same format. We just need to make sure we have subjunctive. And how do we make sure that happens? So paso número uno, we need to have a subjunctive indicator. For example, espero que, ojalá que, es dudoso que. You can find any of these in your book or your packets that you have. The pages will be listed by your teacher, or they can let you know what page to look at. So no olvidéis usar la lista de vocabulario para encontrar los indicadores del subjuntivo. Paso número dos. You should have a change in subject. Now, this isn't always mandatory. Like, for example, if I said something like, I am not sure if I have ever visited Florida, then you would still need the subjunctive, and you might not have a change, but 90 to 99% of the time, somewhere in there, you're going to have a subject change. So we should just think about having the subject change in there. It makes sense. Thirdly, we're going to conjugate haber in the subjunctive. That happens because we have a subjunctive indicator and a change in subject, theoretically. And so we're going to put haber in the present subjunctive. It's still present because it's still present perfect. It's just now in the subjunctive format. Las conjugaciones de haber en el subjuntivo en el presente son yo haya, tú hayas, él, ella, usted haya, nosotros, nosotras hayamos, vosotros, vosotras hayáis, y ellos, ellas, ustedes hayan. Debe decir ellas. Once you have that written down, now we're going to talk about the next verb, which just does the same thing as it did before. We're not conjugating it. We're going to put it in the past participle format, which again isn't really a conjugation because that's the only form it can be in. Recordad, tenemos ado for verbs in the AR like bailado, and ido para los verbos ER, like comido and vivido. Once you do that, then you have formed the present perfect subjunctive. So we're going to try some examples. Primero, let's try this one. I hope that Matt has eaten all of his veggies. So I'm going to pause here. When you think you have it, unpause, and you'll hear la respuesta. La respuesta. I hope that Matt has eaten all of his veggies. Espero que Matt haya comido todas sus verduras. The students doubt that Señora OK has not given any homework. La respuesta. Los estudiantes dudan que la señora OK no haya dado tarea. Hopefully the class has bought popcorn for the movie. Respuesta. Ojalá que la clase haya comprado palomitas para la película. We are happy that the class has presented the project. Estamos felices que la clase haya presentado el proyecto. If you still have questions, make sure to ask your teacher. Otherwise, you've successfully learned a new tense, the present perfect subjunctive.